All right. So today we're talking about something that we've personally fallen out of the routine of doing, and that's a good habit of recording a video. So, ironically, we're going to talk today about good habits, bad habits, because we formed a bad habit of not bringing you content on at least a semi regular basis. But before we get that far today, where in the world are you, Waylon, before we talk about good and bad habits?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm actually in Wilmington, North Carolina today. Been pretty lucky lately. Been dodging all of the crappy weather. Every time I leave somewhere, the weather's bad. And every time I land in a new place, it's really good. So if we can keep that streak alive, I'm going to be a happy person.
How long is the longest you've ever been delayed on a flight or the most inconvenient flying situation you've ever dealt with?
Oh, man. Hawaii one time, the delay was pretty severe in Phoenix, long enough to where I think I slept 9 hours on my book bag. Uh, I don't even remember how long the delay was. I just know it was long.
If
So.
you can survive sleeping in a terminal, you can probably survive many outbreaks that strike the world, I think, from personal
Oh
experience.
yeah, that's why I wasn't worried about COVID too much. I was like, I've slept on the floor in the Phoenix airport. Until you've done that, you know I'm not worried about COVID.
I have PTSD with B terminal in Philadelphia. I think it's like B8 that I spent a tragic night on the floor trying to get to Phoenix and you got stuck in Phoenix. Kind of ironic. Neither of those two places are pretty safe to fly out of when it
Yeah,
comes to getting there on time. But today we're talking about habits, good habits, bad habits for both agents and agencies as our main topic. So, what are your opening thoughts when it comes to habits in our business?
certainly. So luckily we've kind of covered these things in ad nauseum with the agency and everything internally. But habits can't be overstated, the importance of them, um, especially as it applies to the insurance business. Ultimately your year, your week, your month, your income, everything is dictated upon the habits that you've built and continue to follow through on. One thing that I actually think of when I think of your name in the industry is just schedule. You're very schedule oriented. Like when you get out of schedule, and this is things you've said to me before, like I just feel like I'm out of whack and everything is crazy when my schedule isn't right.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing. Creating a schedule is the same thing is essentially thus creating a habit. So what you habitually do is what you eventually become.
Do you think that there are agents that you've seen transition from other industries and occupations that are successful because they came from a schedule based, routine based type occupation?
Certainly, certainly. And that's the thing that we talk about a lot. People are attracted to the industry for, certainly the fact that they're able to dictate and control their schedule. That can also be your biggest enemy. A lot of the reasons a lot of people from prior sales careers were successful was because their time was dictated by someone else, their time selling,
Mhm.
car salesmen, things of that nature. They're told when to come and when they can leave. We don't have that. So that makes a big difference. When you're able to clock in and clock out whenever you like, it creates another variable that makes those habits even more necessary.
I see it a lot in agents, and I don't mean it in a condescending sense, but I think a good third of the agents in the world want to work just enough to not be broke, but also not have a boss, but never allow themselves to reach that next tier of financial success.
Oh,
What do you think?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and part of that's okay. I think the industry swayed a little bit too much in the side of like everybody should want to make a million, should want to make 10 million. Like, yeah, that's great, and having a certain level of ambition and drive and a light at the end of the tunnel type of thing is great. However, there's still a lot of value in being able to make 100, 125, $150,000 and do it on your own terms and own time.
Mhm. You do a lot in physical fitness, good routines, good habits towards wellness. Did you notice anything about getting into that habit that could be beneficial to somebody?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, if it weren't for health and fitness and finding a gym on every trip that I take and everything, I'm pretty convinced I'd be 6'2", about 380, and you would have to roll me in and out of places. If it weren't for that, everything would be different. Everything, quite literally. So starting the day with that as kind of the focal point of my day, and then building the bones of my day after that is extremely valuable, not only for starting the day off right, but all the other benefits mentally, the mental boost that you get from doing something physical early and then getting started with your day and the tasks that you need to do. I mean, there are certain little tricks too, focusing on kind of your big tasks or bigger things you need to do earlier in the day, when you have less brain fog and fatigue and you have more of your energy and zest to you. But having that routine, having that one thing consistently that needs to be done and doing it is everything.
I think it's important for people to recognize when they're at their best, when they're at their worst, and kind of maximize productive moments. Like I can guarantee you between 5:30 and 1:30 is my prime productivity time. And after 1:30, like some stuff's going to get done, but at that point it's kind of like leveled off for the day.
Yep.
So I think it's important for people to figure out when are they at their best. Maybe it's 11 p.m. at night until 1:30 in the morning, but so be it. Just figure out when you're good at getting stuff done and maximize that time. Like kind of putting the hard things first. If people are generally best in the morning, but they're not in the field until noon, maybe that's why you're not getting anything done either, right?
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I always think of you when I think of schedule, and especially as it applies to a field agent or like final expense specifically, or even Medicare. Like to follow a schedule once a week is one thing, but to do it 3, 4, 5 times compound is a whole other beast. And that's how you legitimately actually make a difference in the business.
How about bad habits? What are some bad habits you see regular personal producers get into that affects their growth in the business?
Yeah, I mean, there's a million of them, right? I think number one is trying to reinvent the wheel, and during that process of getting into the habit of, one, not going into the field, two, going into the field thinking that you're working, but spending the majority of the time in the field in your car or at the gas station. 3, not purchasing leads on a regular basis or having any kind of systematic approach to that side of your business on the marketing end. And 4, which might be the biggest of all, is just negative talk, whether it be self-talk or outward negative talk. When you get down, because this business, it's easy to be negative. It truly is. It's easier to be negative about what we do than it is to be positive. I truly believe that, because there's a million things we could point to why it didn't work or why it isn't working or why we're not working or whatever. So finding a way to be positive is invaluable, but those are some bad habits that I see regularly on people that are not doing as well as they would like to do.
Do you think there's some value in occasionally giving yourself a social media pause, like saying, today I will not go on Facebook, especially in an industry filled with such fakery on Facebook? What are your thoughts on just giving social media a break some days?
Oh, absolutely. Even more than some days. Some people, it's just not good for them in general. I mean, it can be used for good, obviously. I mean, a lot of people are probably going to consume what we're doing today because of it. So it's not that it's negative altogether, but those of you watching this, go check out some stuff from Andrew Huberman. Phenomenal podcast, talks a lot about the science behind psychology, not just the kind of subjective, subject matter from psychology, where it's very subjective is the best word for it. It's just out there. His is very literal and very scientific, and talks about dopamine and the release of those certain chemicals that makes us want to go to work. Social media can absolutely screw that up in your brain, quite literally, just by swiping and looking and viewing and all those things. Your brain releases certain chemicals when it sees certain things, and it can be very negative toward your business if you allow it to be. And sometimes, I mean, that's their job, right? Social media's job is to get you to continue swiping and continue having your eyes on it. So they're invested in you staying on it. So you need to break that cycle consciously and find time for yourself to unload all of that and unpack all of it.
Yeah, it's kind of hypocritical to say give yourself a social media pause, but like, comment, and subscribe to the video. But I think there's an important balance to be struck, because sometimes I think there's just a lot of narcissistic attention grabbing that people do that doesn't provide you any value for the day either. Like, hey, look at me, look at them, look at that. This is good, that's bad. Like, it's just all of these different chemical parts, like you mentioned, that doesn't get you to 5K a week, doesn't get you to 15 presentations. Most of it doesn't have anything practical, actionable. Some of it is way above your business level. Some of it is way below. Some of it's completely inaccurate. Like, there's no filter that says only show me relevant, practical sales tips today, unfortunately, when it comes to social media. What do you think about doubt? I think a lot of agents struggle to realize that so much of what they do feeds back into doubt, and doubt can kill their business. What do you think about doubt in our business?
Yeah, I think number one, first and foremost, doubt's inevitable in any sales position or career. I think very, very few people have ever sold anything and not had some doubt about what they're selling or their process or their presentation or their leads or whatever. They've had doubt at some point in that in their career. But I think it can be used as kind of a superpower too. Because there's almost no better feeling other than accomplishing a goal or working toward a goal. Second to that, basically, is having a doubt, having a fear, and overcoming it. It's a great feeling. So that's you almost need to look at it as less of an obstacle and more of an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
When you find something that you're doubting in, look at it as an opportunity to grow in areas where you initially weren't comfortable. I mean, in areas where you're doubtful of a business relationship, well, there's your opportunity to mend the relationship or not and learn from it. Or if you're doubtful in your sales process, well, there's your telltale sign. You probably need to fix it to where you feel like you're not doubting every time you give a presentation. So it can be used as a phenomenal way to get better, to improve.
Yeah, I think if we look at those as opportunities and ways to overcome them than as much just the doubt themselves, then you'll learn from it. Because the biggest growth I've experienced in business has come from doing things I didn't want to, massively uncomfortable, extremely inconvenient. But then afterwards, you said to yourself, "Oh, look at that! I did that. I did that thing. That thing wasn't that hard. I didn't die from it." I remember in the fire academy as a 21-year-old paramedic cadet, and we would do PT for 45 minutes. Nothing really all that challenging, probably in the grand scheme of things. But we would always say to ourselves, "They're not going to let us die, and this has to end eventually." And nobody ever died. Few people got kicked out. They weren't right fits. It eventually did end, and you went in the classroom and you went over protocols and procedures. But you got better from it because you went and did it the next day, and did it the next day. And again, maybe that's just like a habit that they got you into doing.
Yep.
So in your experience, when you recognize that you've fallen out of a habit, you're not going into the field on time, you're not buying your leads, you're not getting around your mentor, your upline, your coach, whatever verb you want to use. How do you get back into the right habits once you know you've broken them?
Yeah. So the first step's always, if you can, like if you have a mentor, you have someone that you know is doing the things you want to do and you're connected with them on a personal level. First step is reconnecting with them. And then the second step after that is pretty simple. After you're reconnected with them and kind of gone through their process and advice, starting small, start with something you can accomplish. So if you've gotten off of buying leads, buy leads. There's step one. Just go and buy some leads. Just take the leap of faith. Say, okay, I'm doing it today. I'm going to get after it. Let's do it. Buy leads. Well, let's say it's giving, 3 presentations a day or 15 a week or whatever. Commit to doing that for a week. Don't say you're going to do it in a month or you're going to write $1 million this year. Just do it for a week. Take it in bite-sized portions that you're able to actually accomplish. And then grow up, make that your base, your foundation again for getting consistent. Because it doesn't happen overnight. It's over a period of time. That's what consistency is. And that's what a habit is. A habit isn't a habit until you've done it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do it for a while if you don't do it for a day.
Mm-hmm. Totally off script this morning. You just recently rolled out a new lead management program, Opt. Can you talk a little bit about that in case someone stumbled on this, needs leads, needs overflow, digital, aged, and doesn't know where to get them or what Opt is?
Certainly. So we were using Opt Lead Management. It's aggregated to all of our different internal marketing resources as well as some outside marketing resources into one system. It's a pretty robust system. You're able to not only real-time purchase digital, direct mail, some telemarketing options, do lead drops, do consistent fresh A leads if we have the territory available, but it also allows you to track your business. You can export leads by zip code, county, name, track your business as in, say, if you close them, pick the carrier you close them with. It'll track your premium per lead. So it's a pretty robust system. It's very, very useful. And we've got tens of thousands of leads in the system, actually hundreds of thousands of leads between Medicare, final expense, mortgage protection, regular life leads, a little bit of everything on there. So we're pleased with the system thus far internally, and we want to make sure it's available to everybody in the industry that may be looking for some different lead options out there.
I can't even imagine having a life license, having a carrier contract, and having no connectivity to anything. Like the business in of itself is extremely lonely, and then having nobody else that's like there, it
Yep.
sounds like a Tom Hanks horror movie after an airplane crash. But if there is that person out there, could they sign up for Opt at no cost and purchase leads with no affiliation to you?
Certainly. They can reach out to you, Chris. They can reach out to myself, whomever you would like to reach out to. And it's a very simple process. You quite literally fill out a link with your information. You put your car on file for when you would like to purchase leads. It charges you a penny. So as long as you have a penny on your card, you're good. And you get that back after your first order, just to authorize things. And it's a pretty straightforward setup process.
So this doesn't cost any money. It's not a subscription.
Nope.
If I sign up and I don't buy a lead and I fail, I haven't lost any money but a penny.
Correct.
Good. And in your opinion, habits have a lot to do with schedule. As a personal producer, what was your schedule like? So maybe somebody watching this video in the final 4 minutes could mirror that schedule and take that in the field this week.
Absolutely. So my first 6 months as a final expense producer, I didn't have an appointment setter, nor could I afford an appointment setter. And I had never called someone on the phone about insurance in my career. I came from a cold door knocking background, not without leads, literally cold door knocking. So naturally, what did I do? I door knocked my leads. So it was 6 days a week. I door knocked 6 days a week and sometimes 7. But for me to say 7 days a week, that would have mean that I never took a day off, and I had a day off every once in a while when I just felt like I couldn't go anymore. But it was 6 days a week, route my leads into a router, Route for Me or any of these new ones they've got now. I'm an old dog. I use all the old stuff, I guess, which is weird because I'm still young, but I use all the stuff the guys used like 5 years ago. Plugged it in there, made a route, organized my leads the night before, and I got in my car and drove to the leads. 6 days a week, nothing changed. And then whenever I got below 15 leads, I would buy more. I don't care. It didn't matter what kind of lead it was. Digital, Facebook, whatever. Back then, Facebook really wasn't even that big. It was like old direct mail or new direct mail, basically, with the conversation. So whatever I could get my hands on, names on a piece of paper even, I'll go door knock them. So just making sure I had over 15 names on a list any given day to go out and hit their doors 6 days a week, waking up and doing the same thing. First door by 9 o'clock every day. And last door, no earlier than 7. I was out till 7, regardless if I sold the first 4 or got told no 15 times. Did that 6 days a week. Again, I was in a very tight scenario with financially speaking, so that was the motivator. But that's what I did. It was door knock 9 to 7, 6 days a week, and it worked really well.
We're filming this in spring and summer. It's the time of the year where you have the most daylight. Now, it doesn't mean you have to go home the moment it's dark. I think that's not true. But that's no longer an excuse. Like it literally will be dark at 8:30. If you want to make it work, this is the time of year to make it work the best because you've got all the daylight possible. And like Waylon said, just brute force effort your way into some form of stability. Eventually you could work 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, but not until you've done that much effort for that amount of time to be able to get to that point. So on that note, let's go out. If you are watching this video and you don't have a lead resource, we've got one there for you. If you're watching this video and you don't know anything about selling, there's an entire playlist on how to give a presentation. If you don't know how to quote, Insurance Toolkits gives you an ability to quote the product that you're selling now and underwrite the product. Like compared to 2016, let's wrap on this point. Is there any reason you can't do it if you really want to?
Absolutely not. I mean, the resources and tools available now are light years ahead of what they have been, and they're only getting better. I think the last 12 to 18 months has accelerated the industry more than the previous 4 to 6 years did.
Yeah,
which is awesome. So we're light years ahead. There's so many people out there willing to help as well. So leverage those people, use us. We're happy to help, and use all the content that Chris puts out and just try to improve little by little every single day incrementally.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap up. You're not going to get a world better one day, but one day at a time you can get a little bit better, and just create a good habit by starting today and then doing it again tomorrow, and then 21 days later, it'll become a habit for your business. Waylon, appreciate you giving us 19 minutes and 28 seconds on a busy morning on another day in another part of the country. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll bring you another one someday soon.